Update. Am I the a-hole for not combining income and or sharing my savings with my girlfriend so we both have spending money? Original post. I am going to try and keep this short. My girlfriend and I moved in together this past summer. We split joint expenses, rent, utilities, groceries, etc., proportional to income. I make about 3 times as much as my girlfriend. As a result, I pay 75% of our joint expenses. I have virtually no expenses outside of the joint expenses. My girlfriend, however, has a lot. She has a car payment, student loan payments, health insurance premiums, medical debt, personal credit card debt, etc. At the end of the month, she does not have very much money left over. I have a fair bit left over at the end of the month, but most of it I save. I do have a fun money account to treat myself to nice things every once in a while. About a month ago, my girlfriend approached me about the idea of combining income so we each have money at the end of the month to save and or do fun things. I flatly refused this request. I think splitting joint expenses proportional to income is the fair model for an unmarried couple like us living together, and that is what we do. Over Halloween weekend, my girlfriend's sister and her fiancé are having their bachelorette and bachelor parties, respectively. My girlfriend is going to the bachelorette party, and I am going to the bachelor party. The bachelor party will be a weekend boys' trip to Florida. The bachelorette party is substantially smaller due to my girlfriend's inability to contribute significantly to the fund for the party. My girlfriend and her sister talked about the situation. My girlfriend told her sister she cannot afford a big trip. My girlfriend's sister asked how I was affording the bachelor party trip. Then, for reasons that still make no sense to me, my girlfriend went into detail about how much I make and how much I have in savings. I have substantial savings because I went to college on scholarship, and after I graduated, my parents gifted me my entire college fund. My girlfriend's sister has convinced my girlfriend that I am selfish with money, even though I cover 75% of joint expenses and 100% of our going out activities when we do go out. I am pretty pissed about my girlfriend sharing my personal financial information with her sister, but I am unchanged in my position on combining our income. Now for the top comments before reading the update. No, I'm saying this as a woman. Do not join finances with her. You are already covering more than she is. 75% joint expenses and 100% of dates. She's out of line asking for more and babbling to her sister. She needs to budget better, get a part-time job or something if she wants additional money. Not the a-hole, but she definitely is. Wow, he covers dates 100% too? She needs to settle down and stop sharing his business with people. Maybe he can help her budget better. Honestly, you're not wrong at all. You're already covering 75% of the expenses, which is more than fair. The fact that she shared your personal financial info with her sister is a huge red flag. That's a serious boundary issue and shows a lack of respect for your privacy. I'd really reconsider the relationship. If she can't handle money conversations maturely or keep things between you two, it's only going to cause bigger problems down the line. Red flags. If you stay in this relationship, she is going to just become more bitter about the inequality. Trust me, this is coming sooner rather than later, and the complaining will continue. You do realize her actions are showing big disrespect toward you, right? If you consider marrying her, you better prepare her now that there is going to be a prenup, at which point she is going to go ape on you. Not the a-hole. Her debts are not your fault. Do not combine finances with someone you are not married to. Even after you are married, a lot of couples keep things separate and have joint accounts for bills, and possibly large expenses or retirement savings. Or they agree that a certain amount will go to bills, to savings, and then to a fun account. I do think that this is going to fester. You guys have different approaches to money and different debt loads. You might think of couples counseling. And please do remember that if you do marry this person, her debts will become your debts. There are certainly ways to strategize how to deal with that as a couple, which I would not begin before you get married. But if you have radically different approaches to finances, it will only become a bigger issue. And if she is comfortable sharing every detail of your relationship with her sister, which some people do, then I would expect at some point every problem you guys have will make it to her sister's ears. Finally, if her sister is someone who can impact the way she thinks, I would take stock of her as well. Do the two of you think differently? Where do any differences pop up? On what issues? If you and her sister are incompatible in significant ways, you might consider what that means as well. I would not make any further long-term commitments to her, and certainly no kids, until you guys are on the same page about things. Now for the update. 4 days after my post, I had a long sit-down conversation with my girlfriend. Prior to us moving in together, we had a long discussion about what expenses I would cover and why. The reason I moved in with her was to take off some of the load for daily expenses, so that she could pay off her debt and save a little each month. Prior to us moving in together, she was going into debt each month just to cover her expenses. I wanted to help her out, but I also wanted to continue saving a substantial amount of money each month toward buying a house. We talked about all this again. I thought we were on the same page. I asked my girlfriend if something had changed. She told me no. She simply is not happy with this arrangement. She has friends who have been dating a shorter amount of time than us, but they share money more readily than we do. That is what she wants. I told her I am not okay with that arrangement, and if that is what she wants, we should probably break up so she can find that. She agreed. Shortly after that discussion, I reached out to the landlord to try and see if we could negotiate an early termination of the lease for both of us. I am still discussing it with him. My ex is looking for a new place for herself and is having a hard time. She came to me and asked if we could try and work on our relationship. I told her no, and that she will resent me because this is not what she wants. She asked if I could help her out for a few months with rent on a new place. I told her no. She is pretty mad about all of it, but this is where we are. What exactly did she bring to the relationship, apart from debt? Audacity. She decided to try to fleece you, rather than let you support her for the bigger picture and bit the hand that fed her. My guess is that, if she asked for a little bit monthly for debt reduction, you might have agreed. In the meantime, know that landlords cannot just pile on damages and have to mitigate losses by making a good faith effort to get a replacement tenant. Try to find qualified takers yourself who are interested in your unit only and connect them with the landlord. Offer them some cash to help offset the initial month's rent as an incentive. I'm glad that you brought up the big picture. That's the thing about budgeting. You do with less now in order to set yourself up for more in the future. And this woman's ability to budget has run up there with her ability to plan for the future with a spouse who could make their life easier if they worked it out. So she threw away a relationship and somebody willing to cover 75% of her expenses because she couldn't go all out on a bachelorette party? Ugh, wedding culture is crazy. And 100% of dates. That is the bit that gets me. 75% of expenses seems fair when he makes that much more than she does. But he's paying for all their nights out, and that's still not enough? If I was in a similar situation, I think I even would have been okay if she came to me and was like, "Can I borrow X amount so my sister can have a once-in-a-lifetime bachelorette party?" Heck, I'd probably just give it to her. But asking about fully combining income so she can have more fun and getting pissy about it? No freaking thank you. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my boyfriend of 10 years to help me financially? I, 40 female, have been with my partner, 48 male, for about 9.5 years. He's had a hard time committing to me because I am a single mom. Sorry in advance for the long post. Brief history. I had my kids really young and struggled for a long time, in and out of homeless shelters and government assistance. Over the years, I worked really hard and pulled us out of poverty, and started to make real money in my early 30s. I put 2 of my kids through college, and they are now in their 20s, thriving with great careers of their own. The youngest is still in school, living on campus at his college dorm. I never received child support. Their father was extremely physically abusive, and I'm lucky to have gotten out of that relationship with our lives. During my 30s is when I met my boyfriend Scott, fake name. We went through a lot of downs because he struggled so much with my being a mother. But eventually he asked me to marry him, and we moved in together. We split everything 50-50, even though he made 3 times my salary. I worked 80 to 100-hour weeks just to make rent, groceries, and bills. He never once offered to help or make the split more reflective of how much we each made. He chose a luxury apartment with a beautiful gym and doorman and all the fancy amenities to move into. So I had to work extra hours to accommodate his tastes and still make sure my kids were okay. I thought eventually he would help out. I know he doesn't have to, and my kids aren't his responsibility, but I thought watching me work myself to the bone and be so exhausted would make him want to ease my burden. I thought he loved me enough to want to be there for me. I thought eventually he would see how great my kids were and want to ease their burden as well. He has multiple millions saved up. He talks about it all the time and tells anyone who will listen how much money he makes and about all his investments and how great his investments are doing. He owns a luxury car that I'm not allowed to drive. He always shows me his bank balance and talks about expensive vacations and condos he wants to buy. When we go on vacation, I always paid for my half and have gone into debt trying to keep up. The kids are never invited to our vacations. I have to take them on vacation on my own. He's never once offered to help. Maybe I'm jaded because my last partner was my kid's dad and he used to punch my face and break my bones. So in comparison, this guy was gold. This year, my son needed help with his tuition. He was turned down for a student loan and I was short by a lot. I had to ask my boyfriend for help and he paid for the tuition deposit. But he made sure I knew this would be a loan and I was expected to pay him back. He even gave me a timeline of when I should pay him back. And when I couldn't, he made me take a loan out to pay him back. So Reddit, am I wrong for expecting more? Is it normal for a man with this level of wealth to treat his partner of 10 years this way? I feel like I'm with a millionaire, but I am still living in poverty. I want to break up with him. At this point, I feel like I'm doing it all on my own, and he has actually become more of a burden with his demands and his needs. I do everything for him, from cooking to sex to massages because he loves having his back touched, to forging friendships with his family and friends and keeping up with it all, while he only works 8 days a month and sleeps until noon. I'm at work by 7 a.m. every morning. Am I wrong to expect more? Sorry if this post is all over the place. Edit. I forgot to add, he told me I'm an a-hole for expecting any man to ever want to take responsibility for my adult children. He told me I'm the a-hole for even wanting to help them when they're in their 20s. But I think they are still so young and fresh in their careers, and my wanting to help them out isn't bad. It feels natural to me, but he says it's taking away from what I should be building with him. He wants me to use my money to buy a luxury house with him. When I mentioned that I don't want to buy a house and that I want to spend my money helping the kids until they're ready to be completely on their own, he called me an idiot. Just because he isn't punching you in the face doesn't mean he's a good partner. Demand better for yourself. Absolutely. He is content to let OP live in poverty to keep up with his demands. He purposely chose an expensive apartment and luxury vacations. In fact, I might even suggest he is financially abusing you by keeping you in poverty and showing you how well off he is to keep you down. If you're too broke to leave him, then he can treat you like a bang-maid to his heart's desire. You would be financially and mentally better off living by yourself than with this selfish man. Also, for any future relationship, don't waste time on a man who dismisses your kids. He may not want to help support them as adults, but a good man will support you in being the best mother you can be. The red flags are warnings, not a parade in your honor. Yeet this man yesterday. Red flag was the first sentence. 10 years and he won't commit? That's a commitment right there. He's a tool. You never should have agreed to move into an apartment that was beyond your means. A 50-50 split of expenses is only acceptable when the expenses entered into are based on the budget of the lower-earning partner. Otherwise, the expenses should be split based on income. Your partner is extremely selfish, not completely with the money side of things, but that combined with everything else makes him not a catch at all. If you want to break up and get your own place based on a more realistic budget, then by all means do so. In the end, you will be much happier. This right here. Agreeing to move in somewhere she couldn't afford was a huge mistake. She'd be better off struggling alone than continuing to be a bang-maid for a tight-fisted millionaire who has no problem watching her work and spend herself into the ground like this. He chose the luxury unit. He should be covering a majority of that expense. Edit/update. I always see people write this, and I never thought I would be saying it myself. But I'm so surprised at how many responses my post received. Thank you all so much for your thoughts and for sharing advice, articles, and comments. I really appreciate it. It makes me feel like I'm not crazy, and I definitely feel much less alone. I never knew what financial abuse was. I actually thought it was describing actual gold diggers like Anna Nicole Smith. I wanted to take the time to expand on some things I think I may have written in a confusing way. 1. I work 80 to 100-hour weeks often, but not always. This includes all 7 days of the week. I am in a very demanding and constantly changing industry, so that number of hours is quite common among my peers. 2. We are not married. He gave me a ring a few years ago, but he was never really crazy about the idea of marrying me. So I call him my boyfriend since there are no wedding plans, and I've had the ring for over 3 years now. 3. I have 3 children. 2 have graduated college and have found great jobs in the careers they studied for. The oldest lives on his own, and the middle one is still living at home because he joined a startup and is still saving to be able to afford to move out. We live in the most expensive city in the country, possibly the world, and living expenses can take a severe toll on young fledglings in his industry. So yes, I help him. It's the best place for him to live to have opportunities in the career he is striving for. He wouldn't be able to work or find jobs in a smaller or more remote place. 4. Scott goes on vacation without me if I can't afford it. Just a few years ago, he went to the Maldives with friends and left me sitting in a hospital bed with COVID because he already booked it and it's too late now to cancel, and he would have lost all his deposits. 5. I'm not sure why I stayed. I was deeply in love with him, and with everything going on with work and kids, I have had a very limited amount of time to be alone, without him, to reflect on what my needs are in the relationship. I also wanted my kids to know what it felt like to live in a really nice place. I just wanted them to taste a little bit of the good life because I was never able to give it to them growing up. It was short-sighted and came at a huge cost to me, both emotionally and physically. Now I see that. I really believed he would be better, less selfish. He always promised he would be when I pushed back. Thank you all again for all your comments and advice. It has been eye-opening, and I will carry your thoughts with me during this next chapter of my life, which is leaving him and finding happiness on my own.